Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Strategy Game Podcast. I'm your host, Lauren Shippey, and today I'm so excited to have my good friend, longtime family friend, Jon Sharp with us. Jon, thanks for being here.
Sure. Hi, how are you?
So he's kicking off a new series on the podcast all around leaders, because obviously at Storywork, we work with leaders. Our whole tagline is define your story, make it matter. And so today we're going to talk a little bit about Jon's story, how he got to where he is now, and obviously just what the future looks like. We're not sure, right? None of us are. We're on the winding road. It's not a linear journey. I know we've talked about that, Jon. So can you just give us a little bit of a background? Like, what's your story? How did you get to where you are now? Like, what does your journey look like so far?
Sure. So I'll start by telling you my industry. So I'm in risk management, and for people that aren't in risk management, what that really means is insurance. So that's kind of the term is insurance, but in this field we call it risk management because it makes us feel better about ourselves. So we'll go with risk management. So history is my firm is a third generation firm. My grandfather started the firm actually 70 years ago this year, so 1954. He ran the firm for probably like 10 or 15 years, and then he turned it over to my uncle. My uncle, who is my mom's brother, ran the firm for 42 years.
Wow.
And then when he was, yeah, he did great things. My grandfather kind of handed him nothing, and he created this beautiful organization. And then he handed it's not the right term. Then myself and a group of shareholders purchased it from him back officially 8 years ago. But we started the journey probably about 10 or 12 years ago, where we bought a little bit because he was planning on retirement. And then eventually, when he retired, he sold the remainder to us.
That's awesome. Yeah, and so for you guys who don't know him, I know, there's some locals maybe, but we grew up in New Jersey, close, well, like same town, same school, all that stuff. So just been really cool from an outside perspective to watch like your journey and knowing your family and just the generational aspect of it, I think is really special. And, it's also something that comes with at times challenges. Like how has that been navigating the generational transfer? Like was that hard for you when you first stepped in? What was that like?
Yeah, I mean, the hardest thing was when we first started. Well, so I'll go back to my uncle has three children, none of which were a fit for insurance. And I think he kind of looked around and said, oh, I want to keep this in the family. What do I do? And I guess by default, he kind of chose me and said, hey, you want to come work here? Now, my dad had worked there for years and years. So there was some that was in our blood already.
Yeah.
But there was a little risk there because there was a bit of a family falling out over the years, and I didn't really know my uncle very well, and we didn't really have a relationship with our family. But just before I started working there, there was a little bit of kind of a bridge starting. And my uncle said to me before he hired me, so I have a big concern here because our families are finally starting to get along again, and I feel like if I bring you on
Mm.
and it doesn't work out, and I have to terminate you, well, then all of a sudden we're going to be back to square one. And it's just going to ruin the bridge that's been created, which is so true, right?
Yeah.
And I just responded to him. I just said, his name was Rick. I said, Rick, I'm the type of person that you'll never fire me because if this isn't working, I'm going to leave long before you've made the decision that it's not working. I'm going to know, and then I'm going to move on because I was a young man and I was trying to find what was in my future.
Mm.
So I guess that was enough for him, and he brought me on. And then since then, I mean, the plan was just for me to come and be part of the organization. There was no outlook for, hey, this is family business. It was just let's be successful and figure it out.
So where did you start?
Unfortunately,
Like what did you start doing? What was your first job?
my first job was benefits, which is group medical. So it's part of what we do, selling group medical to different companies. So
Yeah.
if a group has health insurance, they have a broker, and the broker then does the work. So that's what they did. So I got brought on. It was funny. My first interview was with my uncle, and he says, "All right, well, that's going to be a problem." So well, let's have you talk to this guy who does benefits, and he'll teach you the business, which is what ended up happening. Um, so yeah, that was the beginning, and I was fortunate I had some success. And historically for me, my background is in leadership. Like I was just kind of, it's just my personality, right?
Yeah.
I have a lot of leadership in my background, starting with me being a catcher as a 10-year-old boy. And that
I
just
was
kind
gonna
of,
say, okay. So as you look back in your life, like the themes and the threads, like I talk about this, like what do you see? Like what are those moments that you see where you knew like I'm just a leader. Like this is my role.
yeah. So I was always outspoken, never afraid to tell people what I felt,
Yeah.
right? But and not in a harsh way, but like
Yeah.
I
You
speak
are
up,
good at that. I
right?
can see that. Yeah.
It just doesn't intimidate me. In fact, I think it's loving to tell someone the truth instead of sugarcoat things.
True.
Um, but when I think back, like so I remember I was like in third grade, and I was in a guidance counselor. I was dyslexic, and I think I was a guidance counselor. I don't remember exactly what she did, but the school was going to eliminate the position. And I remember, I don't even remember this, to be honest with you. I was told about this afterward. And the woman said that I rallied people in the school to protest eliminating. I was like in third grade.
I never knew this. This is amazing.
Yeah, so kind of crazy. And actually, the person, because we went to church with her, her
Yeah.
mom. It was Megan Brown's mom. So she
Wow.
told my mom later, again, I didn't even remember it, but I do remember playing baseball, and everyone was afraid to catch because there's a bat there and all, and I was like, I'll do it, and I just fell in love with it. It was awesome because I got to. I mean, there was control part of it, right? I mean,
Right,
you get
right.
to you call the plays, everything's
Yep.
around you. Like I kind of like that.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but yeah, I mean that's how it started. And then I always had an entrepreneurial spirit. I was selling lemonade in my grandmother's house when I was 10 years old to the little league that was happening, and I was always just finding ways to make money, be entrepreneurial, and which ultimately was about making money. So I don't know, it wasn't ingrained. It's been a gift and a curse
Yeah,
for
for
God
sure.
through my life.
Comes with great responsibility. Side note, I also sold lemonade in the dealership in the showroom. I don't know if you knew that, but
I didn't know that.
for
That's
those who
awesome.
don't know, my parents had a dealership growing, or a couple dealerships growing up. And when I was like, I don't know, 7 or 8, I would set up my little lemonade stand. Those poor customers, I don't know why my parents let me do that. Like obviously they'd have to buy it. And they were suckered
It's
into buying
amazing.
it as they were shopping for cars. So yeah, natural born leader for sure. Definitely had those
Yeah.
threads throughout your life. Started here, and you also what I know about you too, and we're getting to like as you look back, what's the most important trait that has carried you through? You mentioned it. I do think that you are like a knower, like discernment comes to you. It's like you know if something's for you or if it's not for you pretty clearly. So as you were saying to your
Yeah.
people, like I'll let you know if this isn't for me. Like I will know.
Yeah.
And I think that's definitely a characteristic that's important in leadership. So, as you think back, are there any like moments or how you've used that, like that particular trait that you feel like has really helped you even grow the business now?
Yeah. Well, it's really funny you say that actually, because I didn't think about this when I was preparing. But first I always say like my trait's always been I work harder than everybody else. And that's because I was smaller than everyone else. I was dyslexic. Like there's just like internal subconscious things that have
Yeah.
always forced me to feel like I got to outwork people. So that's always been like when people ask, hey, why are you successful? I was, well, I outwork people. But then as I was preparing for this, I started thinking that's not totally true. I mean, it is true, right? I always feel like I'm going to outwork whoever's next to me, but the plan is so important. And I haven't given enough credit to the fact that we need to plan and find the right place to go. And you go back to the discernment.
Hmm.
What we did with the firm when we took it over was we said, let's look at our marketplace. We know the market. Let's look at it and let's see where it's underserved. And is there a place where it's underserved where we either excel today or can excel in? And if we feel we can or we're doing it now, let's start putting our energy and all that hard work into this area, and we
Yeah.
can find it and grow it. And that's really what we did. And that's why we've had so much success because we found that like the big national firms, they don't want to do business with accounts that are like family businesses like ours. Not that they don't want to, but they'll write the business, but they won't give them any attention.
Right.
And then the small firms, they want to write it, but they don't have the ability to be a risk manager, to be an expert in the field.
Hmm.
So we kind of said, we have the experts already. We have the capability. Let's start targeting this area where we know they're underserved because they're not big enough to be with the big guys, and they're too big to be with the small guys. And that's really been what we've been able to kind of put in place and have had a lot of success because of that.
Wow, I love that. And that really makes sense. Like that ties into what we talk about a lot with like seeing and hearing and knowing people, right? Is like,
Yeah.
you really saw that niche in the market. You saw where there was a place where people weren't being served and you filled it. Like you bridged the gap and they felt seen and they wanted to engage with you, right? And
Yeah.
that
Yeah. It's so true. Yep.
ultimately what
Yeah, that's a really good
contributes to
point.
your growth. So, anything else in terms of like, important traits that have carried you through over the years?
Well, I mean, again, I go back to just working hard. Like when I entered the field, I was like, all right, I'm just going to outwork everybody because I'm not the smartest guy in the room.
Yeah.
I'll never be the smartest guy in the room, and I'm okay with that. In fact, I embrace that. And
Mm.
what I try and do as a leader is surround myself with people that are a lot smarter than me. The good
Yeah.
news is that's not hard to do because there's plenty of people that are smarter than me. But it's about saying, all right, what am I good at? And where am I going to spend my energy? Because if I start to tinker in areas that I'm not good at, typically it's not going to go real well. Oftentimes, and I learned this a lot from Patrick Lencioni. He wrote the
Oh,
book.
so good.
Yeah, it's the six.
Oh yeah. What I know what you're talking about.
Not the six genius, six working
Six
geniuses.
geniuses. There it is. Six working geniuses.
So that's really good. I'm also reading right now. I finished that one a while ago, but I'm reading 10 times is easier than 2 times. And most of these books, they're talking about like spend your energy. Like Lencioni says, what fills your cup, right? What things do you do really well that you enjoy doing? Spend your time there. And 10 times is easier than 2 times says take 80% of the stuff that you're not real good at or that's not changing your business and get rid of it and focus only on the 20% because 80/20
Yeah.
is the fair rule for everything.
Yep.
Focus all your energy there so that you can grow the business. And what I've found through the years is the stuff that drains me. I know what it is now. I wasn't able to put pen to paper, but now I know what it is. And now when it comes up, I'm just like giving it to somebody who's talented at that, who it's one of their two working geniuses and it's not mine. So, hey, this particular thing is for you to handle. And let me take back this from you because I love doing this type of thing. And that's really helped the organization. And I think like, so just to give you some content, like when I got involved as the president, we were probably about 20, 22 people, and now we're about 85. So there's a big shift in management and the way we do things. When we were 20, 20, 22, 25 people, I was able to be the center of everything and make all the decisions, but things drain me. Now I can't.
Yeah.
So got to find the right people and then also got to focus on what you're good at. Typically, what you're good at fills your cup and you can help grow. If you're not good at it, you probably shouldn't be doing it because you're probably no good at it. That's my feeling, at least.
Okay. I love that. It's so interesting. I just wrote this down the other day. It said, because I was talking to myself, when you operate outside of your zone, like when you try to accommodate, when you try to do too much, maybe like pride, thinking like, oh, I got it all, I can do it all, you won't get like your optimal outcome and you'll experience higher stress, burnout, anxiety, even depression. Like, so run in your lane. I was just thinking
Yes.
that. But my question is, because I've had this like with building teams and stuff over the years, what happens when you know it's not your strength, you delegate and it doesn't go well because the person is unhealthy, like unqualified, right? Like, so do you run into those landmines with your team and think like,
Yes.
that didn't work well. I delegated that out and it didn't go well. Like it was a failure.
Yeah. So here's a couple things to help against that. One, you got to know your team strengths, right? So if you're delegating something out to a team member and it's not their strength, well, that's on you.
Yeah.
But my philosophy, which is frustrating sometimes, but I think it's the right one, is I would rather delegate to a team member and have them fail than do it myself because they're not growing if I'm not delegating it to them. I'm just doing it myself, and there's no advantage to them. There's none for us. And ultimately, I think you learn. Me personally, I learn most through failure.
Mm.
So if I fail something, then I've learned a lesson, and now if I have the ability to take away from that, I'm never going to fail again, and I'm going to make the whole organization better because now this is something I have experience with.
Yeah, that's good. That's so true. Yeah, that's good. Okay, so greatest challenge and triumph. What comes to mind for you? This is something we do with leaders where we walk through their life stories and look at like what were the challenging moments, what were your triumph moments. So for you, are there some that stand out on either side that have been a part of your journey?
Yeah, so I mean, I think oftentimes if you have a challenge and you're able to overcome it, it becomes your triumph. So this is kind of one of the same.
Yeah.
Um, so when I first with the group of guys started buying into the firm, one of the things we said, it was a big financial decision, and one of the things we said together was we need to have direction on how we're going to grow this thing, and not like we needed a leader. So they were like, John, we want you to be the leader. So okay, great. And this is from a sales management perspective. And I was like, okay, well, if I'm going to do this, I need somebody to help me. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm 30 years old.
Right.
So I got a sales consultant. Yeah, like it's crazy. Like you guys want me to do it? I'm talking to guys that are much older than me, much more experienced, but
Yeah.
it is what it is. So I got a sales consultant, and he opened my eyes and helped me really understand what success would look like and how to get there. And it was a significant challenge because what it entailed was changing the entire culture of our organization from one that wasn't a sales culture to one that was. And within that culture change, we had to make hard decisions. We had to do things like lower or increase minimums so we wouldn't be paying someone if they sold a piece of business that wasn't a certain size. We had to make people write a certain amount of business so that they could stay and continue to be on the sales team. We had to really put goals in place, and if you didn't reach them, we had to terminate people if necessary.
Yeah.
And it was hard for a lot of reasons. One, I took over for a sales manager who'd been doing it for 20 years and just kind of was more like a reporting manager, right? He wasn't really pushing anybody. It wasn't in him. No fault to him. I had a different vision than he did.
Yeah.
But everybody was used to his vision, which was you just show up, you report, you leave, you don't hear it again for another month. And that wasn't mine. So again, I'm about 30 years old, and I'm working with guys that are double and then some my age.
Oh.
Yeah.
Right, and shifting the culture, and you're telling them what they have to do. I'm sure that didn't go
Yes.
over super well in the beginning.
Yeah, and most of these guys knew my dad because my dad had only left 10 years prior. So
Oh, even worse, even worse. So how
it
did
was
you
hard.
establish authority with them and credibility to be able to lead them?
I don't know. I think I was just consistent, and hopefully
Yeah.
I was genuine.
Yeah.
And again, like I'm willing to tell you things you don't want to hear if I believe it to be true. I'm not going to do it in a harsh way. I can do it in a loving way. But again, loving is telling someone, hey, this is who we are now.
Yeah.
And these are the changes that have to be made if you want to be part of this new organization.
Right.
And they didn't want to be. They didn't want things to change. So people left. One gentleman retired. Another gentleman left the industry as a whole. Another person, we had to part ways, right? So that was hard, but it was also necessary. And I think with all challenges and triumphs, you can look back, and now it's been 12 years. You can look back and you can say, this was good, even though it was really hard while we were there. I see why we did this, and I see the fruit of the labor, even though it was a really struggle while we were there. So definitely my biggest challenge. I would say definitely the biggest triumph because we have a firm now that has a sales culture, which has helped us grow. And that's ultimately a big part of what we're trying to do. We need to grow to be able to keep up with all the changes in the industry. But it was difficult, people that I cared about that weren't a fit anymore. And I knew it going in. I assumed they wouldn't change. I hope they would. Some people did change and have more success. And ultimately, the changes we put in place, while they were for the organization, they were for the people too, because it's a commission-based job. So if they were able to change, they would be making more personal income for themselves, which ultimately would be blessing their families more. So there was no ill intent. It was just, this is a change that has to happen. And behind the scenes, I was spending millions of dollars to buy a firm that if it didn't change, I wouldn't be able to pay off the debt, and I would have ruined my family. So there was some motivation.
That's skin in the game right there. That's what we call skin in the game for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And everybody had to have skin in the game and accountability. And, something you said stood out to me, the sales culture. So I think sometimes sales cultures can get a bad rap. Like you can think of like MLM model or like, just commission based, right? Like all that stuff can get a really bad rap, but I know that's actually there's a lot more depth to the culture that you guys have and that you've built just from some of the personal stories you've shared. Can you just elaborate a little bit on how you really see, know and hear like your team members and how you encourage them and, lead them?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I believe in people. I love people, and that's kind of where it starts. Right? I don't love my company or success first. I love my people first, and I tell people in our meetings. First of all, I use the word love a lot, which drives, in particular, some of the men
I
in our
love
leadership team. It drives them crazy. It makes them so uncomfortable.
that is
Yeah, I
great.
mean, it's what it is. I feel that way. Like I love all of you. I say that. Okay, listen, I love you
Yeah.
guys, right?
Yeah.
But I project that and I verbalize that to our team too. And I say in our meetings, our quarterly meetings, listen, guys, we're going to love people before they're here. We're going to love people while they're here, and we're going to love them when they're gone. And no matter the reason they leave, right? I mean, people do unethical things sometimes. They need to leave. It doesn't mean we don't have to not love them when they're gone. We can still love them. We don't love the action that they made. We can still love them as a person. When we're interviewing somebody, again, if we're not being honest, that's not showing someone love or respect. So we need to love them by saying, we don't think this job is right for you. Instead of saying, give us a couple more weeks to interview some more people, we'll get back to you. No, I know you're not the right fit for this job. So I'm just going to tell you. And I'm
Yeah.
happy to tell you why. Here's why. I'll tell you in the moment. And when I do that, because I do that a lot, not some, I used to do it a lot more. Now we have HR teams, so I'm not involved as much, but people would appreciate it. They don't want to waste their time either. It's a way to show them that you love them, even though they will never work for you.
Mhm. It's
And
true.
then again, I had someone resign recently, and I say this to everybody when they resign. Do you think this is the best thing for your family? And they always say yes. I said, well, then good luck. This is awesome. I'm going to be encouraging you from behind. Like, I don't want to lose you. We love you, but if this is best for your family, you got to do it because
Yeah.
that's what we're all doing. We should be choosing our families.
Mm.
So I
Yeah.
don't know if that's kind of the example you want. I mean, we also just try and recognize team members as much as we can for things that they're doing throughout the organization. We I'm really into community support too. I think that's a way you can show team members love, but also the community love.
Yeah.
So we have a fund that every quarter we pick out 3 names of different organizations that the teams have put in. I just pick them out of a hat, and it's, hey, what organization is close to your heart that you want to give money to? And we pick it out, and then we give them some money. And it's just a way to show people that we care for not only you, but we care for what you care about. Because oftentimes those organizations are things like Cancer Society, and the reason they care about that is because someone they love had cancer.
Right.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
you can go through. It's amazing how much you can learn by finding out what organizations close to them, their stories behind them, right? I mean, I'll ask you, Lauren, what organization is the one that you love most? The one that you support financially or that you're involved in? Which one is it?
There's an organization here that I work with called You Mom, and it equips single moms who are trying to start their own businesses. So I do that because I love being able to spend time with them and mentor them and teach them how to start their own business. Because that's my
So
passion.
yeah, so think about that. Like think about
Yeah,
how much you just told me.
right.
In 3 minutes, I can learn so much about you by doing that. And
Mhm.
there's appreciation there, right? If you worked for somebody and they said, hey, we're going to give your organization $1,000 because you care about this organization, I
Yeah,
think it goes a long way.
it does. It means a lot because right, it means you're for them, right? You're really for
Yeah.
them. That's one of our like our family rules. We have family rules, and
Yeah.
of them is just we're for each other, and I think that's really simple. So that's just it's so awesome, and I just love hearing that. And I think it's something that's going to be needed more and more, especially in the coming years. So I think
Yeah.
it's great to be able to lead that way. And you're creating a blueprint that I think can be used just really across other companies and industries. So you never know, but I think there's for sure something there. So
Oh,
um,
that's nice. Thank you.
what have you learned only through time over the years that you would tell others earlier in their journey? So, for those that are stepping into or they're newer in their entrepreneurial journey or CEO journey, what would you tell them?
So I already touched on this because I couldn't wait. Um, but
We'll repeat
It,
it.
to Yeah, I'll tell you a little bit. I have some more. I can elaborate, but I mean, it really is about, I think, understanding what the marketplace yields and where you can make the biggest impact for whatever client that you're trying to chase. But I think for me, when you're starting as an entrepreneur, and I didn't start right, I didn't start from zero, but I have some similarities there. It's so hard to change or to start. It's so hard. It takes such perseverance. And if you're like me, and I think a lot of entrepreneurs are, we're really hard on ourselves. So instead of recognizing the small wins we have, we focus on the losses. And I mentioned to you earlier, I mean, I learn most from losses, which I do, and I don't recognize the wins enough. But what I do every year, and it's only because I have an annual meeting with my team and I need to do this. I look back and say, what have we accomplished this year? And then typically I'll start to look back even further and say, what have we accomplished in 5 years or 10 years? And when you do that, and I can't dwell on it because then it's going to slow me down, but when I do that, I can really see like, wow, we made great progress. And it didn't feel like we were making any progress for so long. So you go back to like, it's like a new entrepreneur, right? Like keep pushing, but then take a minute to look back. Like when you're really discouraged, take a minute, look back and remember what was it like 6 months ago or a year ago or 5 years ago and how far you've come.
Yeah.
Like you can get through whatever's in front of you. You just got to take it small, step by step, and enjoy the small wins you can. Try and focus not so much on the negative. That's what I think.
Yeah, that's so good. At the end of 2023, I looked through all my journals. Like I had a huge stack of them in my closet. I took out every
Yeah.
single one and went through them and wrote down like highlights. And it was so helpful. Like you're talking about just even with your team having to prepare it. And that's a great way to have to do it, because otherwise
Yeah.
like I can just ignore that. But it was really good to take a moment to celebrate that. And then it feels like you can gain more clarity moving into the season to come. Like when you can look back
Yeah.
and see how far you've come and you can pull out different themes, then you can move forward with such intention. So
Yeah.
this was just so great. I'm gonna link to your company just in the show notes so people can see
Oh,
uh,
cool. Thanks.
work that you guys do, the risk management. But I'm
That's right. Risk management.
I'm so thankful for you, Jon. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you, Lauren. I appreciate the advice and blast.